animation is actually quite a lot harder than you think. So was the singing sort of the security blanket for you? And was that different to actually, recording an album to do it on an animation?
Yeah, I actually kind of went into the experience thinking like, oh, I got the singing thing. That's, I've been in the studio before, how hard can it be? I didn't realize the challenge of singing in character in a way. Because, when you go into the studio and you're singing music that you had a hand in writing, it's almost, there's not a lot of thought behind it. I just sort of sing. But, being in the studio and singing this music and sort of trying to be in a certain headspace was challenging because I couldn't just approach it the way that I would automatically. And luckily, Alan was very hands-on, and he's so humble, and he just knows exactly what he wants and sort of how to get it out of you, that I trusted I was in such good hands. I just sort of presented myself as like, cool, you just tell me what you need, what I should do. Because, there were different accents that needed to be punctuated, certain words that needed to be punctuated, so that was more of a challenge. The actual voicing of the dialogue in the film, I think I was more slightly disappointed initially that all of the actors weren't going to be working together, because I just thought it'd be fun, the camaraderie of the gang all being together. But I was lucky to have these guys who were so fantastic and so thorough in explaining everything to me, and Nathan would read with me most of the time.
I tried.
They were fantastic. So it was nice to know that I had them on my side, and that obviously they were in everybody's sessions, so they knew what they wanted and what they needed, and you do feel slightly crazy at the end of the day, like you've been talking to yourself, for a couple of hours. But other than that, no, it's such a blast. Use your imagination like that.
And just to throw out a compliment to Mandy is, I think with a lot of these animated features at other studios, they'll just look for a big name or celebrity or something like that. But and Mandy definitely has that. But she also has a skill set where, because you see other films, and I think the acting can fall really flat because, like she's saying, you're in this room, you're not on a set, you're not acting with another actor. And I don't think everyone can do that as well as she can. And it really takes, it's a lot of work to pull something off like that. I'm not sure everybody always realizes how much work that is.
Kim?
Mandy, Nathan just mentioned a little bit about your celebrity. You've grown up in the spotlight, really, and a lot of child stars, I suppose, succumb to temptations in your industry. How have you managed to keep your name out of the gossip columns?
Oh gosh, I am boring first and foremost. I'm a boring homebody. You know what? I always like to think that I owe so much to my family. I love my parents. I have a really great, strong support system in my family, and always have. And my parents sacrificed so much for me to be able to, realize this dream that I had at a really young age. And that's kept my feet on the ground and sort of given me perspective that I'm lucky to have this job, not take it for granted. That's what I guess I can attribute being born to.
Busy with work, I guess, as well.
Yeah, being busy with work, certainly. But then also realizing the delineation between working and still having, private life, personal life for yourself. Finding that balance, I think, is really essential too, and having, some semblance of, groundedness in your life.
Perhaps I can ask Nathan, Byron, and Glen to tell us a bit about what I'm sure you must have done. It looks as if you've dipped into classic Disney films for the look of this. I mean, it's a very modern take on the Rapunzel story, of course, but it still maintains that classic look, that lushness, that wonderment, and it tells the films that inspired you as you were working on this for all those years.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we love classic Disney. We right across the street from us is the one of the archives, and we went over there when we first kind of got onto this film, and we looked at that Sleeping Beauty book. That's in the very beginning of Sleeping Beauty that opens up. It's this beautiful jeweled book. It's about half the size of this table, enormous. And it's filled with these incredible Ivan Earl paintings, and Ivan is the guy who styled that film. And when you look at the craft and the artistry and the precision that the care that they put into those films, we knew, okay, well, we have to do as well as this or better. You know, we really care about you know, this company and what people think about it. We care about what people think about Disney. And so we really tried to draw a lot of influences from films like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. Like the colors in the film you see are pulled right from that Cinderella sort of era 50s Disney that everybody loves, because we knew that even though we were making a contemporary film with, you know, like snappy dialogue, kind of sophisticated take on things, you know, and great, you know, subtle acting like Glenn was talking about, something very new. We wanted that nostalgia as well, because people have high expectations for when Disney, for when, you know, they hear that Disney is doing one of these classic tales. They have something in their head that they want to have satisfied, but at the same time they don't want to see the same stuff that we've done in the past 49 films, and so that's where that challenge is coming from. You know, it's how do you do something fresh while giving something to people that they're already so familiar with.
And Nathan?
I agree with him.
Well, you know, in the we have a dailies room there at the studio where we would the animators would get together, and everybody would crowd into that room, and there was a screen just like this. The room was a little smaller, maybe half this size, and the animators would show their work. And on the walls of that room, we would have drawings from the past features, you know, drawings of Captain Hook, of Bambi, Cinderella, and because there was like this whole new generation of animators that had come to the studio that didn't have a connection to those roots with Disney, and we wanted them to embrace that and not feel like they were separate, but to realize they're standing on the shoulders of that whole generation of teachers, but they felt like they missed that time. And so there was a lot of teaching and reminding people of the things that had been taught by that generation of artists, like things like, you know, in those sessions as we were talking about animation, you'd say, well, you know, Ollie would say, don't animate what the character is doing, animate what the character is thinking. And it sounds great, but what does that mean? And that would mean, don't just move the character just for the fun of moving the character, but stop and let's see what's going on in the eyes and really focus on the eyes. And those kind of discussions would happen, and it was a film that it was not only just about doing the film, but it was about training and setting actors free to let them perform and learn the craft at the same time. I think that we're all learning this craft. It's not like there's any experts at the studio. We're all just discovering it all along the way.
The young man up there at the back.
So Dan Fogelman is credited with the screenplay here, and he's really hot at the moment in live action stuff, but screenplays work differently in animation. Of course, you got all the story artists contributing stuff afterwards. I was interested if Mandy ever actually saw a full script by Dan, and if you guys could sort of explain what Dan inherited and what changes he made and what came afterwards.
I never saw a full script, no. Well, partly just because, you know, the way that I would work, like coming into the sessions is, you know, you only work for, let's say, like 4 or 5 hours, and although that is a long period of time, there's so much to do and so many different ways to go about giving any line of dialogue that, you know, you would only get through certain portions of the film. And I know that you guys would, you know, I would go into work and we would only really be concentrated on certain parts of the film and maybe skipping around at that too. So no, I never read anything sort of from front to back. That's again why I was lucky enough to get to rely on these guys, because you must have told me the story 800 times. Like every time I went in, I felt like you were like, now this is the part, remember, where Rapunzel and Flynn are running from the wall of water. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. But again, until you really actually see things on the big screen, that's when it all came together. Because I was like, a horse with a sword, really?
Oh, wow.
Okay, guys, I trust you. And then you see it, you're amazed.
So Nathan and Byron, what magic dust did Dan sprinkle on the script?
Well, and part of it, why we didn't show you the script, because honestly, we didn't have one.
It was so good. It was so good.
Wait, I mean, just to talk about the process real quick. I mean, we in animation, we continue to. There's like an evolution that happens during the making of the film, and so there will be, I mean, sort of like rough drafts of the thing, I guess, and then our story artists are also writers, and so they're writing, they're contributing, and then we're doing screenings for the studio, and so we have a very passionate crew that will tell you what they don't like, and so they're bombarding us with notes as well, and so the movie just continues to change as you go. So there's not until like very late in the game, and then Dan goes back and he kind of does a script over everything that we worked on throughout the process. Then a final script sort of appears really late, like we're almost done. But Dan is not that, I don't want to say too much because his ego is already gigantic. But Dan, I love Dan. And Dan is, he's a super funny, sharp, witty guy. And there's so much of this movie that I think we thank him for, right?
Oh yeah, very early on, Dan said, wouldn't it be great if these two characters had a kind of this repartee like an old Billy Wilder movie? And if you look at those films where you have someone like Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant kind of sparring a bit, and there's that chemistry there that's it's not sarcastic, but there's something so great and energetic about that. And we knew that a lot of this movie was going to just be watching these two characters on screen for a long time, and not everybody's into romance, not everybody's into the princess thing, and it's so we hope that what Dan would do is make this kind of just crackle with smartness, I guess, and he's got a very good sense of humor, like Nathan said. He did a great job of bringing that sort of sparkle to the film.
And now he's off and he's directing.
He's left us behind.
And that kind of thing. And I just saw him the other day, and I said, "Hey, we're gonna work together on the next one." And he's like, "Yeah."
Yeah. Sadly, we've only got time for one last question. It's that young lady there.
As someone who thinks Maximus should be Oscar nominated because he's an incredible character, can I ask about the challenges, or why you did decide to have silent animal characters and the challenges of animating?
Sure. Just a little bit of information about that, like when Nathan can talk. But Nathan and I love classic silent films. We love Charlie Chaplin. We love Harold Lloyd. And we talked early on and said, wouldn't it be great to sort of stick to the Sleeping Beauty rules of animated animals, which is that animals don't talk, but they're very expressive, and they animate. They act and understand without words. And we've got so many compliments about him and Pascal, and so many people saying thank you for not making them talk. And I don't know if you want to talk about like maybe how that is for animators, having to do it in pantomime.
Yeah, well, right from the start, you've got a character as a horse who his eyes are on the wrong part of his head to play emotions. They're off to the side because they're looking for predators. So the first thing you got to do is start to design it so that you can play human emotions, because he's basically a super cop, but half horse, half dog. And matter of fact, at the first a version earlier, the guy that rescues Rapunzel had a dog, and one of the first things these guys did was threw out the dog and put in a horse. And I was like, what? That was my dog. That was my family dog you guys threw out. How did you do that? And a horse? And then I realized, no, wait a second. It's a horse and a bloodhound. And it was so much better. It was like two things that you never thought of to get peanut butter and chocolate, make a great candy bar. There's something about this character that was so fun. So anyway, we started designing these eyes, putting them closer to the front, but not so close that it felt like a human face. Still far enough, still felt like a horse face. Take that jaw, stick it out so he's tough, he's got an attitude. Give him a big bull neck, and pretty soon, he's really tough. And then once you've got that, you've got a perfect character for Rapunzel to just melt that guy. And when she starts, that was such a great whole scene. Everybody just died to want to animate that moment where he's such a, what was the line, He's just a sweetheart, you know. And Flynn's he's a mean. What was his comment there?
He's a bad horse.
He's a bad horse.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so much fun to watch that character melt in Rapunzel's hands. It gave you so much more to play with, you know, because these characters were rich.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, our guests, thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you.